Kia ora koutou, ko Nigel McCulloch. I'm producer at The Download Concept. I went to Berlin because I have a film in production at the moment, a documentary about a metal band called Alien Weaponry, and I have a couple of other films, documentaries and scripted on my slate.
Kia ora, everyone. I'm Rouzie Hassanova, and I went to Berlin with a project called Marama. It's a debut film by Taratō Stappert, and it's a period set film set in Gothic Yorkshire, but it's also a Maori revenge thriller. So it's a very unique genre set in the UK. So we always knew that to make it for the scale and ambition we have in mind, we need international partners. We identified the Berlinale co-production market as a very positive way to introduce the project and give us that stamp of approval. Because I was part of the project for over a year now as a development producer, I was lucky enough to be able to go and support Taratō, meet lots of sales agents, production partners from the UK and around the world, funds, etc. So we can try and raise the money and hopefully apply for funding later this year. So it was thanks to the New Zealand Film Commission I ended up going there. They supported me with the travel grant.
It was more because our film is in production at the moment. I wanted to go and get a feel for the market, meet a lot of people and let them know that this film was coming, to get a bit of experience and understand it before I needed to go there and actually solidly pitch, and then have a discussion about future projects as well. Initially, I was talking about going to AFM at the end of 2022, but after talking with the Film Commission, we kind of landed on EFM as being a better one because there's so much that the market can offer. There's the meetings, obviously, with sales agents and distributors. You can meet with other producers. You can go to the co-pro market. You can do they even have a series market for TV series. So I applied and was given a grant from the New Zealand Film Commission as well.
With the co-production market, we were very lucky, and I think it's a unique situation to be in where we were part of a catalogue which was shared around across the industry with all the projects that were selected. And so the industry then went to the co-production market and asked for certain meetings with certain projects. So we were asked not to book anything on 2 days. So we made a kind of, I guess, a dream list or target list. And then once we knew who we were meeting, which was early February, then I reached out to select a few other companies that I can fit in on the other days. In the space of 5 days, I met so many people.
The main thing is getting in touch with the people you want to have meetings with before you get there, because once you're there, they're literally in meetings every half an hour. They're not taking emails. They don't have any spaces left. The EFM had a great website where you could go on, see everyone who was attending, have an email or a contact with them. And so in that way, I chose who I wanted, which was, 50 to 60 different people, and just sent out emails saying who I was. And each of those people I wanted to meet for different reasons. Some of them were sales agents. Some of them were documentary festivals. So I could talk to them about my film that was coming out. For some of my projects, I'm looking for a co-producer in various places. So I tried to tee up meetings with other producers. And so all of that I did before I went over, at least a month before, and sometimes that was even not long enough. And then the other thing was just making sure I had all of the various documents or trailers or anything else I needed with regards to the projects that I was pitching. I generally didn't pull those out when I was having the meeting unless somebody said, I'd love to see something. And then I'd say, I've got a little trailer. But usually that would be something I'd follow up with afterwards.
Even if we didn't spend as much time booking our meetings, once we knew who we were meeting, we were doing lots and lots of research. And actually, Taratō was amazing. He did a lot of it as well. And so we knew exactly what kind of films they released, and we could talk to them. And that was a game changer because the engagement was instant. Clearly, genre is what everyone is after right now because it's got a very obvious audience and it's easy to kind of figure out how to market the film.
Yeah, I found that too with regards to the genre storytelling. It seems that it's something that's slightly more noisy, something that has a little bit of a hook, as opposed to sort of the high-end dramas that with a one big name player. I think because over the last few years, older audiences have left cinemas and haven't really come back. The younger audiences are playing more of a role now, and sales agents especially seem to be aiming at that kind of genre hook, but still a little lighter, not too dark, an element of comedy or humor in there.
While everyone was so excited to be back and meet in person and buy new content and release and all that, there was also a lot of talk about how the market was saturated as well. It's too much for the smaller distribution companies to handle the amount of content that is coming out right now because of COVID and because of competition, just very healthy competition out there. When you think about it, all the companies are competing with the big streamers who now have big slates. They have their own internal slates, which means they are buying less and less. Unless it's something outstanding or it's got someone big attached and so on. So we're competing with their own slates on top of all the other production companies and studios and worldwide.
Another interesting thing was in the past, often you would have sales agents say, wait until you get the package and then bring it to us, or let us have a look at a rough cut or something. But many of the sales agents that I met have said now that they like to be involved quite early, because what they like to do is focus it to the market, and they like having a hand in casting and those elements as well.
A lot of our conversations coming from sales agents were exactly the same, where they wanted to come on board earlier and be involved in every single almost every single creative decision, including finding co-production partners if needed, because it was about taking the risk away, right? And you do that by being involved and making sure the cast means something internationally and so on.
A lot of the companies I talked to had people just starting and had new outlooks, new ways that they were thinking of approaching the business. They've been forced to, based on streamers and COVID, to relook at what they're doing. And I think that's given them a new energy, which was really exciting. And it's given them a real focus, and it's also given them a desire to be more involved in the process. But I think if you have the right project that fits all of those things, then it's a really, really great place to be.
The industry was very excited to be back and seeing everyone in person, and excited about the future, hopeful about the future. So it was incredible to kind of get that vibe from the room. Yeah,
that was one big takeaway I had from it, actually, was everyone was just so excited to be there. There was a real buzz at all of the venues. It was just packed, cram-packed every single day, people just buzzing around. All of my meetings, I quickly learned to get there 20 minutes beforehand so I could try and snake a table and have a table and some seats for the meetings, because they're in such short supply, and people were happy to be back, and also I think very keen to be making films again.
There was a lot of conversations and debates around diversity and whose story it is and sovereignty, and they had this amazing diversity building where you could go in and meet all the indigenous kind of labs from all over the world, plus funders, plus other filmmakers and producers, and find partners or talk about your project or just find solutions to anything you might have.
Probably mainly because of the streamers, to be honest, but it felt like there were a lot of ways of creating co-productions around animation, telling interesting stories throughout animation, and using new technologies for animation.
People are so busy and overwhelmed with conversations, having to listen every day to different pitches and different people, that to bring in a genre film with Indigenous characters and Indigenous content, such strong POV, and in English, it's a massive advantage because it instantly opens up the door to all the English-speaking territories and casting and all that. So it was amazing. So I think that's what was the appeal for our project, to have so many meetings. And we were one of the busiest projects on the market. It was a great opportunity for Taratova to learn how to pitch his film in less than 5 minutes, and for me to kind of engage partners in the same amount of space. We've had a couple of offers, which we're considering, actually more than a couple of offers. But no, it's looking really good, and I'm very positive we'll be able to put the package together before we go to the Film Commission for production funding. And then the other advantage we have is the amazing funding we can access in New Zealand. In Europe, you rarely can raise more than, if you're lucky, 50% of the funding, but usually it's less. And then you have to find the rest from the market. That's why you often end up with 5 to 7, even 9 country co-productions. While in New Zealand, having the opportunity, of course, that remains to be seen what happens with the SPIG review at the moment, but to be able to say that we had 40% tax breaks, which was automatic. And then on top of that, we could potentially access a certain amount from the Film Commission. It was incredible. I mean, that kind of put us many steps ahead of the game from the other projects.
The SPIG element and the additional funding from the Film Commission is always, especially when I was talking to other producers, I think that blew their mind a little bit. And you could see them like immediately doing maths in their head, trying to figure out how much they were saving or making or adding into their finance plan. I think being from New Zealand is interesting for sales agents from the perspective of having different stories from different places, opening up different markets. I think the term being bandied around at the moment is global. So it's that local element that has the global appeal or the global relevance. If you can have that very specific point of view, but have it have a broad global appeal, then you're in a really, really good position. Many of the documentary festivals that I met, from Sundance to Leipzig to many Asian film festivals, all sort of talked about obviously that Indigenous focus was really interesting to them. But many of the ones, especially in Asia and Europe, I had this from a few people, they say they have a blind spot. They often wouldn't see films from this region of the world, and so feel like there was a little bit of a hole in a lot of their festivals. So it was just being able to sit down with them and say, I've got this film, I've got this other film that I'm working on, and how does that fit within your festival, and what do you guys look at? It was quite exciting for them because they never really get to meet filmmakers from Oceania. So the film coming out next year, I already have a lot of interest in that. I have a sales agent on board for that film as well. So all of those things have been really positive and really helpful, and hopefully it sort of is able to keep building into future projects at the same time.
I don't mean to put it down as we ending this, but it is much harder than we probably make it sound to be right now. And my big takeaway is that while there is a lot of excitement and everyone is, ready to spend money and has money and so on, when you're bringing a project to the market, think about what makes it stand out in a crowded market. And is it a specific POV? Is it a genre? Is it a director? Is it cast? But what would make it memorable amongst hundreds of other projects? And so be bold, I would say, and don't be shy to go there with your content, because the audience is ready to take it. They don't want to be babysat anymore.
Moving forward now, I would have at least one project at a position where I could give it to them at the end of the meeting, or I can email them within the hour and everything is there and everything is set. A script in a position where you're really happy to share it, possibly, like Rouzie is saying, having some cast or a director involved and a very, very clear, concise, catchy pitch. Also, I wouldn't mind making a little bit of time to see some films because I didn't get to see any films